use repeating items within repeating items to collect a list of entries or ask the same questions for each entry in your repeating item. So we'll set up an example here where we create a main repeating item, children, and then we add a repeating item within that repeating item to collect information about that child's children or our client's grandchildren. So to start, we're going to create a regular repeating item. So the repeating item must be on its own page, and we'll choose to add a repeating item question type. We'll give the item a name, in this case, children, since we're asking about our client's children, and we'll ask at least one other question. Then to add a repeating item within this repeating item, we'll click Add Another, and then for question type, we'll choose Repeating Item. This gives us a repeating item within our repeating item. So since our main repeating item is children, we're asking about the client's children, and our nested repeating item is asking about that child's children. We'll name this item grandchildren. You may also want to use a nested repeating item to collect something like owners of a property or addresses at which someone has lived in the past 5 years. Then the process of setting up this nested repeating item is very similar to setting up our primary repeating item. So we'll click Add Another to add a question, and we can add as many questions as we'd like. We'll also see that there's this page title section here in the nested repeating item. This is because each nested repeating item will appear on its own page to the end user or the taker of your workflow. So this default page title here will give you the ordinal number, so first, second, or third, and the name of your main repeating item. So when we're asking about grandchildren or children of the first child, it will say first children. Now we can change this however we'd like. I'm going to specify that I'm asking for the child name that corresponds with the current entry, and then I'm asking for that child's children. So inside of this $ and curly bracket, I'm going to replace the ordinal number syntax here with the name of my repeating item. So I'll say children, square bracket, the letter I, and a closing square bracket, and a period, and then the variable name of the attribute that I want to display. So that will be child name here. And then I can add additional text. So I'll make it possessive, and I'll choose to capitalize children. So now my page title will be the child that I'm asking about, children. So if I enter John in my first repeating item, then this page title will say John's children. In our main repeating item and in our nested repeating item, we can choose to ask an initial question if there may not always be entries in this repeating item or in the repeating item within the repeating item. So since I know that my client's children may not always have children, I'm going to choose to ask an initial question. I can also choose to insert this syntax here, this same syntax if I want to display a value from the entry in the main repeating item in this question for my nested repeating item. So I could ask the initial question, does this child have children? And that won't reference the name of the child that I'm asking about. Or I can also add in this syntax here and say, does this child and the child's name have children, if I want to be very specific with my clients. And then just like in a regular repeating item, I can choose to collect items on a single page or uncheck this to ask a continuation question in between. In this case, I'm going to choose to collect these items on a single page, but for my main repeating item, I'm going to uncheck this question and ask a continuation question. When we use nested repeating items, since they're all on their own page, this leads to the best user experience. We'll see that when we run the workflow, if we leave this box checked, then we'll first be asked about all of our children and then all of those children's children, which is fine and it works, but it might be a little clearer if we uncheck this box and ask a continuation question, because in that case, we'll see that we're first asked if we have any children, and we'll enter one child, and then we'll be prompted to enter that child's children. And then we can enter another child, and we'll be prompted to enter that child's children, and so on and so forth, until we've entered all of the children that we would like to provide data about. Now, when we run this workflow, we can see what this looks like in action. So since I have unchecked the collect items on a single page button, when I run this workflow, I'll be asked about the first child. I can enter that child's name, and then I'll be asked if this child has any children. I'll see my initial question, and then I can say yes and enter information about that grandchild. I can review, and then I'll be asked if I have any more children, and I can enter the information of my second child. And then I'll be prompted to enter any information about that second child's children. And this will continue until I say, no, I don't have any more children. And then I'll be able to review all of my answers and add any additional entries or edit the existing entries and generate my documents.